Alright, a very big welcome to you, my dear listeners and viewers from all over the world. This is Ben Jokes, your host on The Truth with Ben Jokes, your trusted channel for undiluted political analysis. Insecurity, withdrawal of police officers from VIPs should be effected. Tinubu, and this update here says, withdraw military officers protecting Tinubu's son. TV anchor dares Inspector General of Police. Wole Soyinka just spoke about the heavy presence of soldiers and policemen guarding Seyi Tinubu, and these people are saying, well, since they have ordered that security personnel be withdrawn from VIPs, the ones that are also guarding Seyi Tinubu should be withdrawn. But we know clearly that nothing is going to happen to those ones. Meanwhile, this senator here is saying this. Bauchi Senator Ningi condemns selective VIP security withdrawal, says governors, ministers, singers still protected. Ningi is saying that they have withdrawn his own security and the security of some other persons, whereas there are many other VIPs still keeping theirs. There is nothing that this administration will say that you can trust. Just give it a few days and you will begin to see the loopholes in all their declarations. What a shame. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that despicable one coming from the Attorney General of Nigeria. This man came out and said that the security situation of Nigeria is not as heinous, is not as bad as it is meant to look. What a disastrous statement coming from the AGF. And next is that one coming from Remi Tinubu after her disgraceful showing with the governor of Osun State, Adeleke. Remi Tinubu came out and put out a statement that was even worse than what she did on stage that day. And Nigerians came down heavily on her to the point that she had to quickly delete that statement. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video.
If I were to go by what, during the screening of the new defense minister, General Chris Musa, said, that every time, let's say the Air Force, let me use that as an example, go out there and then drop a bomb. Some of these bombs could cost as much as $100,000, and whether or not you meet the target, whether you miss it or you meet it, that's money down the drain. So every military operation is very expensive. And I recall that during that meeting as well, that screening period, he talked about the need for the recruitment of more manpower into the military. And so you wonder, we do not have enough, and we're trying to deploy more to, our regional, our neighboring countries for something that is already over and something that is, quite frankly, if you ask me, not our business. Even if you're talking about a spillover from, how many people are in Benin Republic in reality? When we blocked the border, they couldn't come in here. So yes, granted, in case of an emergency, you might say, according to international conventions, you cannot restrict people from coming in. But this was just a family affair as far as I'm concerned. The people were not happy with the government, and quite rightly so, because the president was being clever by half, changing the constitution, creating illegalities with legalities, and then so hamstringing everyone, using legalities and disqualifying people who are supposed to contest against him. Frankly, we had no business interfering in that matter. But again, it is what it is. And then I begin to wonder as well, although you didn't ask, but the swiftness with which we...
So I was going to go there.
Yeah, okay, you asked so I can answer.
It was a rapid deployment. I mean, we were on our phones all Saturday.
Yes.
Are these really true, the reports that we're hearing, that we're dropping bombs over Benin? But it was a strong showing of military force,
yes.
We must say that. Does this now set a new, stronger, more dangerous precedent that for ECOWAS and Nigerian intervention in comparison to the more measured responses that we saw in the recent coups in Niger and Mali? What could be the risks of this precedent? Could we be giving our cousins in the West, i.e. President Donald Trump, ideas about the sovereignty or the flexibility of the sovereignty of our West African nations?
Okay, you know what just dropped in my mind right now? Do unto others as you would be done by, but that's but that's neither here nor there. Now, you recall that in Guinea-Bissau, our former president was trapped there. We did not respond. It took Cote d'Ivoire. It was Cote d'Ivoire that sent, its forces and jets to come and rescue a former Nigerian president. Okay? Let me tell you what I think is happening generally. You see, the leaders in West Africa, many of them do not respect democracy. What they see this coup like a virus that if you allow will continue to spread. Okay? And every coup sort of poses an existential threat to their continuous stay in power. And so they feel that it must be nipped in the bud to kill the idea in the minds of anyone who may want to try it.
You saw that. Now, I decided to bring this video to us because many Nigerians don't really know the extent of action that Nigeria forces actually put up during that coup in Benin Republic. Nigeria, it was a full-scale military action, dropping bombs back to back, something that they had never done in this country to tackle insurgency. That was what they did at Benin Republic within hours. The call came in to Tinubu, and within hours, we had already invaded Benin Republic. And Victor Okai, the public affairs analyst there, said something that really skipped many people. He said when former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was trapped as an election observer in Guinea-Bissau, what happened? He was trapped there and no aircraft was sent. No help was sent to him from the Nigerian government. It took Ivory Coast to intervene. It was Ivory Coast Airline that brought him back to Nigeria. But then something was happening in Benin Republic, and within an hour, Nigeria had acted. You can see the kind of, I'm even happy that that happened to Goodluck. I'm happy. So let us know that all this inaction, all these jokes, all this it does not concern me that the political class is doing. Nigeria is sinking, and it will come to a point where it will concern everybody. And finally there, the speaker said it. He said these people, these so-called democratically elected leaders in Africa don't care about democracy. The reason why they're moving swiftly anytime there is a coup is because they want to quickly nip those things in the bud so that soldiers all across Africa will not even conceive the thought of carrying out coups. But just as Femi Falana has said, he said this is not the end of it, that there will be more coups to come. And if the democracies in Africa don't wake up and start doing the right thing, he said eventually Africa will be totally lost to the military. Point blank, period. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that one coming from the Attorney General of Nigeria, Fagbemi. He said the insecurity in Nigeria is not as heinous, it's not as bad as people are saying it. What a terrible statement for an AGF to make. And next is that one coming from Remi Tinubu. Her response to what she did in Osun State is even worse than what she did. And Nigerians came down heavily on her to the point that she had to delete the statement. Let's start by taking that update from the AGF. Look at how the papers reported it. Trump's delegation. Nigeria's insecurity, not as heinous as people are portraying it, AGF Fagbemi claims. Bola Tinubu's Justice Minister, Lateef Fagbemi, says insecurity is not as heinous as people are portraying it. The Attorney General of the Federation said this during a press conference after a closed-door meeting with a U.S. delegation. As we speak, terrorism trials are still ongoing between 2017 and 2025. The government had secured 860 convictions and 891 discharges. These figures reflect the government's commitment to the rule of law. We don't just arrest people and clamp them into prison. We follow due process. So, whenever the court takes a decision, we comply with or abide by the decision, and that is why we have both convictions and acquittals. He added, we are not the only agency that they are visiting. They have visited a number of agencies as well. I want to tell you that things are not as heinous as people are portraying. I can assure you of that. Can you just imagine this? He said things are not as heinous as people are portraying. With everything that is happening in this country, for God's sake, US sent agents to come and visit, and this was all this the representatives of this administration had to prove to them, to show them that things are not as bad as they are seeing online. What else do you want? These people are entering schools, kidnapping children. They have taken over highways. Look at festive period, people are scared to travel. How else? They are kidnapping Nigerians daily. Look at what is happening in Kwara State. What else do you want to see, Fagbemi, AGF, before you agree that things are terrible? And that was why one of the lawmakers that visited Riley Moore had to go to Benue State himself. The man went to the IDP camps in Benue State, and he saw firsthand that things were actually terrible. He saw the lies that the representatives of government were telling. I hope that that visit to Benue State will influence the United States to do the right thing for the citizens of this country. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that update from Remi Tinubu began making the rounds. Remi Tinubu came out to respond to what happened in Osun State, and the whole world thought she was going to put up an apology for attacking a sitting governor that way, but she came out and trivialized the whole episode, calling it a minor misstep that is being exaggerated by Nigerians. But Nigerians came down heavily, cursing her to the point that she had to delete the statement. Look at how the papers reported it. Don't amplify my minor missteps, Remi Tinubu tells Nigerians amid controversy with Osun Governor Adeleke. Sahara reporters. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has addressed the growing controversy over her conduct at the 10th year coronation anniversary of the Ooni of Ife, Enitan Adeyeye Ogunwusi, at the event where she was also conferred with the title Yeye Asiwaju Gbogbo Ile Oodua. She had asked Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke to stop singing or she would put off his microphone. The incident occurred on Sunday as Governor Adeleke mounted the podium to pay tribute to the Ooni of Ife and to her over the chieftaincy title. Enough with the music or I will switch off the microphone, she said, before telling the governor he had 5 minutes to conclude his remarks. Reacting to the growing public backlash that followed, she stated on her Facebook page that followers tend to amplify minor missteps. Those entrusted with leadership understand their duties and how to steer the affairs of society. More often, it is the followers and critics who scrutinize every step, amplify minor missteps, and turn them into needless controversy, she noted. Nigerians have continued to condemn her action, with some describing it as a national disgrace. So, according to Remi Tinubu, it is Nigerians that are amplifying her minor missteps. She is too arrogant to accept that it was a major misstep, that it was a major mistake. She's too arrogant to accept that it was actually a national disgrace to be caught on camera attacking a sitting governor when you yourself has no constitutional right to act in any capacity aside being the wife of Tinubu. And Nigerians said, wow, we thought you were going to come out to offer an apology, but you are still coming out arrogantly to say it was a minor misstep, and they came down heavily on her. Ade Ogunkayode here says, Remi Tinubu, please tell me how that was a minor misstep. Clearly, you don't know the gravity of that so-called misstep. Was it not the same you that addressed your fellow senator at an inquiry about his conduct? Power-drunk idiot. Wow, that was harsh. And then Sam Jeff here put up a tweet that really went viral. He wrote what he felt that Remi Tinubu should have put out to the public, which is an apology. He said, "I recognize that my action on stage may have been perceived as disrespectful, and I sincerely regret if I caused any offense to Governor Adeleke, the people of Osun State, or anyone present. My intent was simply to manage the event schedule, but the delivery was clearly wrong." This is how a normal human being should have come out to explain what happened, but she didn't. She called it a minor misstep. And this tweet from Sheyi, agronomist, says, "Would Bola Tinubu have accepted such a huge humiliation during his term as governor of Lagos State? With due respect, you are an embarrassment." Wow. And Toyin Adeyemi here says, "Those were not mistakes. They are your deliberate behavioral patterns. You are a known bully. Adeleke is a democratically elected governor. Your husband forced himself into Aso Rock as well as you. Your entire family is a thorn in the flesh of entire Nigerians." Nonsense. And Oloyede Olayinka here says, "An apology won't kill anybody, but Jezebels ain't known for humility." Wow. Olayinka called her Jezebel there. And Folake here says, "Remi should understand that we are fed up with her and her behavior." Now, if you notice, all the comments that I read out to you came from people from southwest Nigeria. I did that for a reason, because they always try to hide under tribalism. And it is clear that Nigerians at this point are beginning to try to wake up from that, especially with what is going to happen in January, the personal income tax. 15 to 20% of people's personal income after 800,000 naira. 15 to 21% to 25%, as a matter of fact. And every tribe is going to be affected. I will now see whether being a Yoruba or being a Muslim will save you from the calamity that this administration is about to bring upon us. And of course, Southwesterners, Yorubas, came down heavily on Remi Tinubu there, blasting her for what she did to the governor of Osun State, Governor Adeleke. But I am not surprised. With people like that in power, I don't expect anything better. It can only get worse until Nigerians come together and say enough is enough. Anyway, make I leave am here. Make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because now, because of na I dey here. So don't go away. Don't go away.